value as the result that will come out of them with the
If
time
that's
factor.
true, if there is something that is worth the same as it would be in a later date, then you're not talking about potential. You're talking about a delayed reward. Okay. So
Yes,
Mr.
valid.
Fuentes, can I just call you something shorter? I'll just call you Fuentes. Why are you pro-life?
Okay. I'm pro-life because I believe that unborn fetuses have value as a human being and that they are human. So before killing them is murder.
Yeah, definitely. So have value as a human being. Do you mean that all humans have inherent value?
Yeah.
Okay, definitely. Is it like plausible that this value can be taken away from them? For example, can I kill
No.
somebody in self-defense?
Okay, in self-defense, that's yes, but
Okay.
that's because
So
they're
if you have
actively
inherent
attacking
value,
you.
right? If you have inherent value as a human, and that value states that you cannot be justifiably killed, then you cannot kill in self-defense because you are killing somebody despite their value as a human, right? Just because somebody's killing you doesn't mean they're suddenly like inhuman. They're still human. So why does
I
that value
agree
like detach?
because that at that point your own inherent value as a human is at risk, and being as they are the aggressor and that they started that altercation,
Mhm.
it's morally right for you to kill them to preserve
Yeah.
your own life and to yeah. So in that
Well, I
case, it would be
wouldn't
an exception.
definitely. I don't think that's how value works. I don't think you can just like play around with value and say in certain cases that value diminishes. I feel like your definition, or at least
No,
how you
I'm still
ground that
holding
value,
to the
has to.
value. I'm still holding to the inherent value. I'm saying because your own inherent value is at jeopardy, either you die or they die. So therefore, it is right to kill them because in either way, inherent
Okay.
value will be lost,
Yeah,
and they
there
are
will
the
be the
aggressor.
equal value lost. Okay, definitely.
Yeah.
So if this inherent value is like what you get that moral protection from, and there's a case in which that moral protection can be breached, then I don't think that this like quote unquote value is. I don't really
I
think it
didn't.
holds much, right?
The moral protection is not being breached because in this case, someone is going to die, and they are the aggressor. So therefore, you have the right to kill them. Because if you don't, then they will kill you. In either case, life is being lost. So therefore, being as that is self defense, and that in either case, so yeah, it makes sense. I don't understand why
Yeah,
you
but like
think
what
I'm
you're
giving up on that.
definitely. So if you're saying the value isn't breached, then what you're saying is that somebody should be punished for killing in self-defense. No.
No, I didn't say that
Okay,
because
so
in they
yeah,
did
I
not
can.
they
Sorry, I can understand how you're saying that no matter what, like end case scenario, somebody's gonna die, so you might as well make it them rather than you. Sure, I agree with that. But if you say that the value's still there, then you should still be punished for imposing on that value. If not, then that value being imposed on isn't a
they imposed on
punishable
that
worthy
value,
act
and you stopped them from imposing on that value. So therefore, you
by
should not be
imposing on
punished.
theirs. Right, but you
By
imposed on
imposing
theirs.
on theirs, yes, but that was because in either case, value would be lost, and you were making the morally justified decision in ending a murderer's life versus allowing your own life to be ended
Okay.
because you were just doing whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. What I'm getting at here is we should probably change the definition to like innocent humans, is what I'm trying to get at.
No.
No, okay, it's just humans. It doesn't
Do you
matter what the
believe that we
definition.
should kill someone for robbing a grocery store?
I don't believe we should kill somebody for robbing a grocery
Okay,
store.
but they're not
But
innocent.
yeah, but I'm not saying that
So
we
that
should kill
definition would be
guilty humans.
fundamentally
I'm
incorrect.
saying that we can't kill innocent humans. There's a difference.
So wait, could you restate that? I can hear you.
I'm not saying we should kill guilty people. I'm saying that we cannot kill innocent people.
I agree that yeah, you can't kill innocent people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Now,
I'm not saying
with that
that
in mind,
you can't kill innocent
definitely.
people or guilty people unless they're guilty of something in which the death penalty is justifiable or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or in self-defense.
So I wanted to ask where that value comes from, right? So let's say there's a fetus. You said this fetus has that inherent value, yes?
Yeah.
So is there one single thing I can take away from this fetus that would also take away the value?
Well, I mean, it's life, I guess.
Okay, so if you kill it, it's no longer valuable?
Well, because there's nothing to be valuable because the life no longer exists.
Definitely. So would you say that all life is valuable or just life that's like capable of being rational?
I think that all life is valuable, but human life is more valuable.
More valuable. Okay. And would you say that human life, like all human life, is inherently more valuable than, like, for example, all plant life?
Yeah.
Why? What's the difference between human life and plant life that makes human life more
Because
valuable?
humans have the capacity for all of the following things. One, emotional intelligence. Two, creativity. And three, they can
write these down. Emotional intelligence, creativity, and
so they also have an exceptionally high intelligence in comparison to all other creatures.
yeah. Okay, I agree with you, and those are also like the reasons I value human lives more than plant lives. But the thing is, those don't apply to a fetus. None of them do.
They all will if there is no interruption given.
Yeah, it's like another way to say that is that like fetuses have the potential to reach those ends, but I don't value
Correct.
potentials as actuals. There's no reason to value them.
If uninterrupted, the potential will result in the actual. Therefore, the potential could be valued as the actual, with the only distinguishing factor just being time. Correct?
Definitely. Here's like an analogy I love to use when tackling this situation. If there's a piping hot mug of coffee, I'm not going to grab it by the side assuming it's cold because it will be cold. I'm going to grab it by like the handle because I know it's hot and I should treat it as if it's hot. With a fetus, I should treat it as if it doesn't have creativity or high intelligence or rationality or emotional intelligence because it doesn't have any of those traits.
Okay, so by that logic, you could eat. So by that logic, you should throw out a raw steak because the steak is currently raw, and although you might want to cook it, it's currently raw, so therefore it will be raw, so therefore you should throw it out. I don't
No,
understand.
it's actually a good thing that it's raw because it being raw is like that's good for you. If it was cooked, it's gonna end up getting like stale, getting bad, and you're gonna have to throw it away, and you can't.
Things
eat it,
can
right?
be valuable because of potential.
Yeah, but here's the
Do you
thing.
agree with that?
I definitely do agree with that. But like, let's say that raw steak, it smelled terrible, right? And I'm like, hey,
Okay.
I don't like the smell. I'm gonna throw it out. Why not? Right? So like,
Because it's no
if
longer
this
of any use.
well, not because it's no longer of any use. It still might be of use, right? Like I can still cook it and eat it. But the thing is,
Yeah,
some people don't
then
want to go through the effort of cooking it and eating it. They could just throw it away because
no,
the smell.
that I wouldn't disagree. I would disagree because I'm saying that they'd be throwing it away for risk of food poisoning. At that point, I would no longer consider it as an edible. It's not FDA approved at that point, right? Because it
Well,
smells
yeah,
so
because you
bad.
don't eat raw steaks. Nobody plans on eating raw steaks. They're not going to throw out a raw steak assuming that, oh, damn, I have to eat it. It's
People
raw.
do
No,
plan on eating raw steaks after they
they
cook
plan on
them.
eating. Yeah. So they don't plan on eating raw steaks. They plan on eating cooked steaks
Mm,
that come from raw steaks.
Yo, why didn't you put medium on here, bro?
It's not
medium
worthy of
rare.
being an option.
What?
You know what? That's goated. That's a good take. But
Shut up.
All right, continue.
So yeah, definitely. So like bottom line is you shouldn't treat a potential as an actual. But I'm not saying that you like have to throw out the fact it could be an actual in the future. I'm saying you shouldn't treat it as if it's already actual, right? I'm not telling like
Okay.
all the mothers who are pregnant to, oh, hey, your baby's completely invaluable. It's a fetus. It's never going to be human. I'm saying if you don't want it, it's not yet human. So like you don't have to act like you're about to kill some like rational adult human because you want to have an abortion.
Okay, so I think that potentials simply they are equal to actuals if the potential will indefinitely result in an actual. And I understand that in cases like the fetus can die, but if you're taking precautions to prevent it from being born, then you're betting on it living. So
Right.
in that case, I'd say that the potential is like equal to the actual, and that if
That's
you
why I
prevent the
love
potential, then you're preventing the actual.
Yeah, that's why I love to use the hot coffee analogy. The hot coffee, like thermodynamically, is bound to get cold, right? It's not like, oh, it has the potential to be cold. It will become cold in the future, or at least room temperature. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean you grab it by the side, right? So like you don't treat it as if it's cold because it will be cold.
Okay, so
And
you don't treat it in a certain way because so like could you explain like what that analogy means more specifically?
yeah, definitely. I'm saying that we don't treat like potentials as actuals, even though those potentials are bound to become those actuals in like certain cases, such as like a fetus becoming a baby, right? So
Mhm.
I'm not going to treat a fetus like a baby or like an adult because it's not yet a baby or an adult.
Okay,
Right?
so
we
in
don't.
my opinion, from a secular perspective, what defines a human's value is that if you kill a human, you're taking them away from the planet, and therefore, let's say you're taking away a contributor to the economy or something like that. In either case, killing a fetus or a 28-year-old man, you are depriving the population of the United States of a 28-year-old because in
This sounds like a
28 years, they will
socioeconomic
be
argument.
28 years old.
Yeah.
Well, I know it does, but in any case, I'm saying its value to society and humanity in general is going to be deprived of the world in either case. So, what would
Okay.
be the argument for saying that they are of different value?
Yeah. Well, first I want to understand like your mindset in establishing this. Are you trying to say that you're doing a moral wrong because you're depriving the world of a potential worker?
No, I'm saying
Okay,
in
then
either
what are we
case,
doing?
I'm saying because the human has value. In either case, you're depriving that human. So I'm going to restate that and just make it a little a little less of a, like you said, that kind of argument. Um, the humans, so like in either case, that person will live their life, and eventually they will be 28 years old. Either they're 28 years old now or 20 years old later. But in my opinion, the now and later don't make much of a difference. In either case, you're depriving a 28-year-old of its right to life.
Yeah, but here's the thing. When you're saying you're depriving a 28-year-old of its right to life, that's different than when you're considering like actually ending a 28-year-old's life. Because the thing is, we can take so many different like, I guess, angles to attack this. First off, there's something called the time relative time relative interest to kind of harm. I think time interest also something like that. Time relative interest to kind of harm, which basically states that harms are in, I guess, comparison to what they call prudential unity, right? Or you can just call it like psychological connection. So if I were to tell you that you would have like $1 million 30 years down the line, you'd be slightly less happy than if I said you'll have it like tomorrow, right? That's because your prudential unity compared to T1 and T2, which T1 is right now, T2 is tomorrow, compared to like T1 and like T 30 years in the future is much weaker, right? Now with a fetus, they don't even have any prudential unity. They can't even form prudential unity. They can't even conceive of it because they aren't yet rational, right? Or you can say interest theory of rights, God, which basically states that all of the rights are founded in interests, right? Like for example, I don't want to be murdered. I'm going to make a right to where people don't murder each other. That way I have a less likelihood of being murdered. Fetuses don't have rights, right? So no matter what angle you take, unless you take like a very niche and deliberate angle, you're not going to result in like a fetus who has those rights or who has those considerations.
What was that?
I remember when you ran the problem of evil, you deserve this. Ignore that. You go on.
Okay. I kind of wasn't paying attention to like the last part. So you said was that I'm not gonna lie, I forgot basically everything was going. I got like hella distracted. But anyway, you said that like I don't even remember what you said. I'm not gonna lie. Could you like summarize that real quick?
Yeah. Sorry. So I was trying to say that like, okay, let's say, for example, you're saying, oh, it's wrong to take somebody's life, right?
Yeah.
That like on a surface level, everyone will go like, oh yeah, true. But like you have to ground it, right? And there's different ways of grounding this. And you'll find that most irrational ways you can use to ground this won't apply to a fetus, right? I gave you 2 examples which don't apply to fetuses. I want to hear why you think it's wrong, and we can see if it'll apply to a fetus or not. When you say like an inherent right to life, or like as far as like a humans go, I feel like that's kind of irrational, can be crumbled down. Because it's usually hard to ground, right? You tried grounding it through life, and I was like, okay, is it just like a human's life, or is it a plant's life as well? You said human life has like the 4 traits. I can pull it back up. Emotional intelligence, creativity, high intelligence, rationality. Fetuses don't have that. Like, what can you say that applies to a fetus as well?
Okay, I'm just gonna like kind of ask you your own question. Do you enjoy being alive right now?
Mm, depends on the day. Right now I'm quite happy I'm alive. Yes.
Okay, so let's say you have someone who's very happy they're alive. Do you believe that it's fine for them to have never existed, and do you think that it makes a difference?
If they were to have never existed, okay, let's have 2 cases, right? Case A where they do exist and they're happy. Case B where they didn't exist. In case B, there is no they who didn't exist, so they're not like sad about not having existed. We're not taking anything
True,
from them
true.
because there is no them to take away from. So that's like an
Okay,
illogical question in my mind.
okay, I see where you're coming from. So let's say we have Albert Einstein and his parents aborted them. That would be a loss to, because I'm holding that every human contributes to human society, and from a secular perspective, that is one of, if not the main objectives of life, to contribute to society as a whole and improve your own life and others' lives. So if I believe that abortion deprives someone of life and their ability to do that. So it could have been like Einstein, let's say, like the next Einstein could have been aborted. How do you feel? Like, don't you view that as a problem?
I'd be really stumped if I were to find out that like the next Einstein was aborted. But that's not a moral thing. That's a selfish thing. Like I'm completely selfish in saying that. I can't morally ground that. And all the morals that I would use to ground that aren't like morals I hold intuitively. Like I'd have to resort to utilitarianism, you know?
Well, I'm not saying that it's entirely utilitarian, but I believe that there is joy in giving benefit to society, and I believe that there is joy in also giving benefit and living your own life
Yeah.
well, but I believe that that's not entirely like utilitarian in that
Now,
sense
here's the thing. I agree with
because
you.
there's some joy to be found in it.
It's good to be able to live your life well, right? Now, it's not good when your well-being or living your life well is being hindered by a fetus who isn't yet conscious and doesn't yet have like a morally considerable life. Like that fetus, they're not conscious the way we are. They're not awake. Even if they did have that rationality, they're in like a sedated state being in the womb. Like, so they aren't conscious no matter what. They don't have like a life the way we do. So we're being hindered over something that's akin to nothing as far as like its consciousness goes or its moral personhood or anything
Okay, so
considerable.
the issue with that is like again, we're kind of going back to where we started here because by that logic, we're going back to where we started because um, you could justify murder by saying it's at the convenience of the murderer, you know? By
No,
that
you
logic,
can't.
unless you're saying that
Yeah,
the fetus is not as the same value as a person, which we kind
you
of
just
already
flat out
said,
can't,
we're
right?
already arguing that.
Yeah,
So that
definitely.
argument is more or less useless. What
I
you
guess
just
I'll
said.
ask you this. Do you believe that it's logically consistent that you can believe that murder is wrong, yet plucking a plant isn't wrong?
Could you say that again?
Do you believe that there is a logical, consistent worldview where murder against another rational human is wrong, and yet plucking a plant is not wrong?
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that like just because abortion is okay, that doesn't like slippery slope down to murder being okay. Because we can
Yeah.
we can kind of say that murder is morally wrong on accounts that are different than just simply being human. In fact, if you were to ask me what makes us valuable, the last thing I would point to is our biology or our species or just the fact that we're human.
Okay, so I think you were misunderstanding my argument. I wasn't using that to dismiss um, what you were saying. I was using that to say that that argument was irrelevant because we were already arguing over whether a fetus has the same value as a born human being, and that your argument, if they do have if they do have the same value as a human being, then you know what I'm saying? Like if we
I
that you
kind of
could use that
don't.
to justify murder?
Well, I'll ask you this. Do you know what a philosophical zombie is?
No.
Okay, so there's this thought
Oh
experiment of a person who's like essentially a biological machine, right? They walk, they talk, they eat, they even react. If you poke them, they'll like react in pain. But all of it is reflex, right? All of it is instinct. They don't think the way we do. They're not conscious, right? It's almost like a
Okay.
robot. Now, let's say you were faced up with a situation in which you had to kill either a rational, normal human or a philosophical zombie. Would it be a hard choice for you?
No.
Right, because even though they have the body of a human, they have the DNA of a human, they are biologically human. That consciousness is such a huge factor, such a huge weight. You don't care. You don't even consider the fact. Oh wait, they're human. I have to think about this.
Yeah, and they
No.
don't have the potential to become human either, right?
Yeah, yeah. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you look at it like a timestamp, right? You take the moment of time in which it's a fetus. But as I said, potentials don't really matter. It's a fetus right now. You don't treat it as a baby because it's not a baby. You don't treat it as an adult because it's not an adult, right?
In my opinion, that the fetus, like we already went here. The fetus is going uninterrupted. It is going to result in
Yeah.
a human being.
And do you remember my like
So
analogy that I gave in response?
yeah, and do you remember that the analogy that I gave in response? That
No. Okay, so I'll like
certain things,
relay out my certain things. Sorry, go on.
certain things with potential do have value as the result. So, like a check for $1 million is worth $1 million because you have the potential to cash it out. Because uninterrupted, if you do the expected result, then it will result in $1 million. So therefore, it is worth $1 million. That kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's disanalogous.
Explain.
Yeah, so if I were to, let's say I would trade you a check for $1 million and you'd give me like a $1 million TV in return, you're doing so because that check is like, it's functionally $1 million in the moment.
Okay, I do think
right?
actually, I think I made the mistake of leaving out the time variable.
Yeah,
But
yeah, exactly. Like with a check, no matter what, like even if it's in check form, it's still worth $1 million legally. And since this is like a
there,
legal currency, it's
yeah,
as good as $1 million.
I do believe that
Yeah.
there are like do you agree with me that there are certain things that are potentials that have the same value as the result that will come out of them with the
If
time
that's
factor?
true, if that's true, if there is something that is worth the same as it would be in in a later date, then you're not talking about potential, you're talking about a delayed reward. There's a difference
Okay,
between something
so
that's potential and something that's delayed.
why is the fetus not delayed?
Why is a fetus not delayed? Well, technically you could say that it's delayed if you wanted to like wipe out every single miscarriage, every single accident that could happen, whatnot, which I'm sure you're already kind of understanding why I don't consider it to be delayed. Even if it was delayed, there's a difference, right? Let's say, okay, I'll put it this way. Let's say you have a check of $1 million, but we'll add that time variable. It's not worth $1 million until like the August of next year, right?
Okay.
I burn it right in front of you. Is it still worth $1
Mhm.
million?
No, because you burned it.
Will it ever be worth $1 million?
No, because you burned it.
There we go.
Because it no longer exists.
Yeah, there we go. And now here's the thing. I didn't
I
burn
don't
$1 million.
understand. What was the point of? Okay, yeah, you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't
There we
burn $1
go.
million, but I'm still depressed as though I lost $1 million. In the same way, you could say that the baby
Yeah,
was still
definitely.
lost.
Right. Now there will be some
So
parents who would feel
the
that way. They
human.
would feel like, yeah, there are some like mothers who don't want to.
Okay, I'm not arguing this from the perspective of the human. I'm the mother. I'm saying in either case, $1 million was lost,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
whether
now
it's
hear
$1
me out,
million
right?
in cash or $1 million check, at the same way a fetus is
Mhm.
could be treated as a human by that analogy.
Yeah.
So you're arguing for me, is what it sounds like.
No, well, I want to finish my thought. What I'm saying is there are some like parents and some mothers who feel that way, who feel that if they lost their fetus, it's akin to losing a baby, right? Those mothers
Okay.
have the choice not to abort.
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean
of
we should
course.
strip the choice away from parents who do want to abort, who do want to burn the check.
Yeah, like I said, this wasn't from the perspective of the mother. The point is the value of the fetus themselves. And
Oh no,
in
you
the
agreed
case,
that the value wasn't yet worth $1 million. Because
Yeah.
if it was, then yeah, if it was worth $1
no,
million,
no, I
then
didn't agree
did
to that.
burn
I
$1
said
million.
that the value was $1 million of the check. Even though the check
Then you
couldn't be
weren't-
immediately cashed out for $1 million, I said I would be depressed as though I had lost $1 million because I did.
Yeah, well, then that means you weren't working in my hypothetical, because in my hypothetical, like, I clearly stated it wouldn't be worth $1 million until like August of next year.
Well, yeah, because you can't treat it as though it's $1 million because it isn't immediately $1 million. But if you lose that,
Mhm.
are you going to feel like you lost a piece of paper, or are you going to feel like you lost $1 million? You're
That
going to feel
depends
like
on
you
what
lost
type
$1
of
million.
person you are, right? It depends on what type of person
I
you are.
know
I
it
agree
really
with you,
doesn't.
right?
Pretty much everybody on this planet is going to feel like they lost $1 million because, and they did lose $1 million. Be honest, they did, didn't they?
Not technically.
If you
no.
lost a check for $1 million that can only be cashed in a year later, do you think that you lost $1 million? Are you going to feel like you lost $1 million or a piece of paper? Which one?
You lost a potential million. Like if you lost $1 million, you would be 1 million less rich than you were. You didn't lose 1 million out of your account. You lost a potential 1 million. So you didn't lose 1 million. You lost out on $1 million. There's two different, like they're distinct. Do you know the difference between them?
I don't think that you lost out because you're saying when you lost out, it's like saying you lost out on a chance. No, that was $1 million in your hand. The thing is, it wasn't
$1
a
million.
chance. It was a guaranteed $1 million. It was guaranteed to exist in 1 year, and you lost that.
If it was guaranteed to exist, then it would exist in a year. The fact that it didn't exist after the year is proof that it wasn't guaranteed.
What?
You said
who
it was
said it
guaranteed
didn't
to
exist
exist.
after the year? Yeah, it was
you said it was
guaranteed to exist if
guaranteed.
you didn't burn it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't, so it wasn't guaranteed, right? Guaranteed means there is no case in which it won't happen or it won't come. Now, I do
Okay,
want to go back to what you said.
if you're guaranteed an insurance policy for your car, and then you suddenly die of a heart attack, then you won't be able to crash
Mhm.
that car. So therefore, the policy won't be
Well,
guaranteed. If that makes sense. Like I'm saying,
managed
guaranteed,
to,
not as in like assuming the radical of
Mhm.
something getting burned, but you
Right.
get the idea.
now you did manage to like, I guess, put a gap between what you said and this. So I might like kind of say your wording a bit wrong, but I did want to stop you there. I just didn't have the time to. You said something along the lines of you shouldn't treat it as $1 million, but it will be $1 million. I agree with you. You shouldn't treat a fetus as a rational adult who has value due to their rationality. You should treat them as a fetus.
I
which is
didn't say that
irrational.
you shouldn't treat it as $1 million. You can't spend it immediately at a bank, but it is worth $1 million. Do you agree
Yeah.
that it is worth $1 million? Yes or no?
No, it's not worth $1 million yet. It will be worth.
Okay, it's
as
not
far
worth
as
$1
August
million.
of the next year. I've said that multiple times.
But you would feel very deprived if you had lost it. You
I
would feel deprived
personally
of $1
feel
million,
very
to be
deprived,
exact.
Yes, but like here's the thing: this analogy is
It almost
slightly
feels like
disanalogous, and
it's
let me
$1
tell you
million
why.
because
Yeah,
you
let
feel
me tell you why
deprived
it's
of it.
disanalogous, right? The one like thing about this analogy that it makes it slightly disanalogous is the fact that that $1 million will have great utility to me, right? So if you want to talk about and you want to stress about how sad you'll feel about losing $1 million, if we're gonna take that analogy back to like I guess having a fetus, you're basically saying, oh, this fetus is gonna be super valuable to me. I'm gonna have so much utility off of this. My life's gonna be so much better. Some people don't feel
Okay,
that way. Right?
I wasn't arguing. I was arguing the value. That variable doesn't really matter in my opinion because the value of the fetus is not relative to the mother's. I already specified that, and yeah, I don't think it matters.
What do you mean?
The poll.
How does it not matter?
Because it's relative to the mother versus. Oh, okay.
Thank you for letting me up on here, host. That was
Thank you for challenging his view, Resper. Appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. You have a good one.
Yeah.
You too.